6 seconds. That's how long it took for Staff Sergeant Frank Grayson to learn that attacking someone holding a food tray doesn't always go the way you expect. 6 seconds for 200 Marines to watch their sergeant throw a kick at a small Asian civilian, miss completely, and end up on the floor while food flew everywhere. But nobody in that mess hall knew the man holding the tray was Bruce Lee. Not until it was too late. Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, California, March 18, 1969, Tuesday, 12:30 in the afternoon. The main mess hall is packed. Over 200 Marines at long metal tables eating lunch. The sound of trays clattering, conversations overlapping, chairs scraping concrete, fluorescent lights overhead, the smell of institutional food. This is daily routine, 30 minutes to eat between training exercises. A man walks into the mess hall. No uniform, black leather jacket, black pants, Asian, maybe 5'7", maybe 140 pounds. He gets in the chow line with everyone else, takes a tray, gets food from the servers, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans, bread, coffee, standard issue. To the Marines around him, he looks like nobody, civilian contractor maybe, someone's guest, nobody important. What none of them know is that this man is Bruce Lee, 28 years old, martial arts instructor who's been consulting with military programs for 2 years. The base commander personally recruited him to teach a 6-week course on close quarters combat. But this is his first day. Nobody told the Marines. Nobody sent a memo. He's just another person in the chow line. Bruce finishes getting his food, turns with his tray held in both hands, looks for a place to sit. The mess hall is crowded. Most tables are full. He starts walking down the center aisle, tray balanced, looking for an empty seat. Not rushing, just walking normally. Staff Sergeant Frank Grayson sits at a table near the center, 32 years old, 6'2", 2,110 pounds, 12 years in the Corps, 3 combat tours. He's eating with his squad, talking about afternoon drills. He sees the Asian guy in the leather jacket, walking with a tray. Something about it irritates him. This guy doesn't belong here, doesn't fit, walking through their mess hall like he has every right to be here. Grayson doesn't like it. As Bruce walks past his table, Grayson deliberately sticks his boot out slightly into the aisle. Not enough to trip, just enough to make contact. Bruce's shin touches the boot. He stops, looks down, looks at Grayson. His face is calm. "Excuse me," his voice is quiet, respectful. Grayson leans back in his chair, looks Bruce up and down. "You need to watch where you're walking." His voice is loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Bruce nods. "I apologize, I didn't see your foot." He tries to continue walking. Grayson's voice stops him. "Hold on, I didn't say you could leave." Bruce stops, turns back. He's still holding his tray in both hands, food balanced, coffee cup sitting on the tray. Is there a problem? Grayson stands up. He's 6 inches taller than Bruce, 70 pounds heavier. The size difference is obvious. "Yeah, there's a problem. You walked into my boot, in my mess hall, and you think a little sorry is enough?" Some Marines at nearby tables are watching now. This is entertainment. A sergeant putting a civilian in his place. Bruce's voice stays quiet. "I apologized sincerely. I'm just here to get lunch. I don't want any trouble." Grayson takes a step closer, invading space. "You don't want trouble, then maybe you shouldn't be here. This is a Marine mess hall, for Marines, not for random civilians who think they can just walk in wearing leather jackets like they're somebody." Bruce doesn't respond, just stands there holding his tray. His posture is calm, but his eyes are watching Grayson carefully. More Marines are paying attention now, maybe 50 at nearby tables. Nobody's intervening. "What are you even doing here?" Grayson's voice is getting louder, more aggressive. "You lost. Need directions back to Hollywood." Some Marines laugh. Not everyone, but enough that Grayson feels validated. Bruce takes a slow breath. "I'm here for work. Meeting with the base commander. I don't want any problems. Just want to eat my lunch." His voice is still calm, but there's a boundary in it. Firmness underneath. Grayson doesn't like it. Doesn't like that this small civilian isn't backing down, isn't showing proper fear or respect. "You're not eating anything until I say you can. You disrespected me, kicked my boot. Now you owe me." Bruce shifts his weight slightly, still holding his tray. "I apologized. I offered respect. What else do you want?" His voice is still quiet, but the question hangs in the air. Grayson makes a decision, a stupid decision. He wants to humiliate this guy, teach him a lesson in front of everyone, show what happens when you disrespect Marines. I want you to understand where you are, who you're dealing with. He looks at Bruce's tray, at the food, at the coffee. Maybe you need help balancing that tray. Looks heavy for someone your size. His tone is mocking, threatening. Then Grayson does something that will define the next 6 seconds of his life. He throws a kick. Not a serious combat kick. A show kick, designed to knock the tray out of Bruce's hands, aimed at Bruce's midsection where the tray is held. Fast, well executed. The kind of kick that will send food and coffee flying everywhere, humiliate the civilian, teach him a lesson, make everyone laugh. Grayson's done this before. It always works. His leg extends fully. Good technique. Proper form. The kick is heading directly toward Bruce's stomach, where the tray is balanced. Should connect in a fraction of a second. Should send the tray flying. Should dump food all over this guy's leather jacket. But something impossible happens. Bruce isn't where he was. He's moved, minimal movement, maybe 6 inches, just a slight pivot of his hips. The tray is still in his hands, but his body has shifted just enough that Grayson's kick passes through empty air instead of connecting with the tray. Grayson feels nothing. His leg is fully extended. His balance is forward. He's committed to the kick. And Bruce is standing right next to him now, slightly to the side, still holding his tray perfectly balanced. Not a drop spilled. Then Bruce does something that looks effortless. As Grayson's leg is extended, as his balance is compromised, Bruce shifts his body slightly, just a small movement, but somehow that movement redirects Grayson's momentum. Grayson's standing leg gives way, not from being struck, not from being swept, just from his own momentum being guided in a direction it wasn't meant to go. He falls backward. His back hits the concrete floor hard. His arms flail. And as he falls, his flailing arm hits Bruce's tray. The tray tilts. Food flies. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes, and green beans, and coffee spray through the air. Some lands on Grayson, some lands on the floor, some lands on nearby Marines. The mess hall erupts in chaos. Food everywhere, coffee pooling, and Grayson is on the ground looking up at fluorescent lights. Bruce is still standing, still in the same spot. The empty tray is still in his hands. His leather jacket has some food on it, but he's otherwise untouched. His expression hasn't changed. Calm, neutral. The entire sequence took 6 seconds. The mess hall goes silent. 200 Marines frozen. They just saw their staff sergeant throw a kick at a guy holding a food tray, and somehow the sergeant ended up on the floor covered in food, while the civilian barely moved. Grayson lies there for a moment. His mind can't process what happened. He threw a solid kick. Good technique. Should have worked. And he's on the ground. He didn't feel a strike, didn't feel a throw, just felt his balance disappear. He pushes himself up slowly, food sliding off his uniform. His face is bright red. Humiliation, confusion, anger. He stands facing Bruce. What the hell did you just do? Bruce's voice is quiet, still calm. You kicked at me. I moved. Your momentum took you down. Your arm hit my tray when you fell. That's why the food went everywhere. No mockery, no triumph, just explanation. Grayson's fists clench. His breathing is heavy. He wants to attack again, wants to prove that was luck, but something in Bruce's eyes stops him. Not fear, not challenge, just complete readiness. Like whatever comes next has already been calculated. Then a voice cuts through the silence. Attention. Everyone snaps to attention automatically, including Grayson, covered in food. The base commander, Colonel Richard Morrison, walks into the mess hall, 55 years old, full dress uniform. He looks at the scene, at Grayson covered in meatloaf, at Bruce standing with an empty tray and food on his jacket, at 200 Marines at attention, at food all over the floor. His face shows no emotion. Staff Sergeant Grayson, report. Grayson doesn't know what to say. Can't admit he attacked a civilian and fell. Can't explain what happened. Stands there silent. The colonel looks at Bruce. Mr. Lee, are you injured? Bruce shakes his head. No, sir. Just lost my lunch, and my jacket needs cleaning. The colonel nods, then addresses the mess hall. His voice carries command, authority. This is Mr. Bruce Lee, our new civilian hand-to-hand combat instructor for the next 6 weeks. He has full base access and my complete authorization. He'll be teaching advanced close quarters techniques to selected personnel. The colonel pauses, lets it sink in. 200 Marines processing. The small civilian they just watched is Bruce Lee, the martial artist, the instructor their commander hired. Grayson's face drains of color completely. He attacked the new instructor, first day, in front of everyone. The colonel looks at him. Staff Sergeant Grayson, my office. After you clean yourself up, we need to discuss appropriate conduct towards civilian contractors. Grayson's voice barely audible. Yes, sir. The colonel turns to Bruce. Mr. Lee, my apologies. Let's get you a new lunch and a clean jacket. Bruce nods. But before following the colonel, he looks at Grayson. Staff Sergeant, no hard feelings. You didn't know who I was, and you were protecting what you see as proper order in your space. I respect that. His voice carries no grudge. Then he continues, if you're interested, you're welcome in my classes. I think you'd benefit from understanding what happened just now, how your own momentum worked against you, how minimal movement can redirect force. Then he follows the colonel out. The mess hall stays silent for another moment, then erupts in conversation, everyone talking at once. Grayson stands there covered in food, his squad looking at him with concern and curiosity. 3 days later, Grayson shows up to Bruce's first class. He wasn't on the original roster, but he requested permission to attend. The colonel approved. Bruce sees him walk in, nods acknowledgement, no grudge, no mention of the mess hall, just treats him like any other student. Over 6 weeks, Grayson learns what happened in those 6 seconds, learns about redirection, about balance, about using opponents' momentum, learns that combat effectiveness doesn't always look like what he trained for. On the last day, Grayson approaches Bruce privately. Sir, I owe you an apology for the mess hall, for attacking you, for not knowing who you were. Bruce shakes his head. You protected your space. That's leadership. You just encountered principles you hadn't trained against. The fact that you came to learn shows real strength. Most men would be too proud. Years later, after Bruce's death in 1973, Frank Grayson tells the story, not about being humiliated, about learning, about 6 seconds that taught him the most dangerous people are the ones nobody recognizes. 6 seconds where a man holding a food tray showed him something about combat he'd never understood.